What's up, world, and welcome back for another episode of Chop It Up here on the Equinox Podcast, the show where I break down the basic understandings and misunderstandings that we experience on this journey called life. To be clear, I am not an expert. I am simply a creature of this earth, tapping into the magic of this incredible universe, sharing food for thought. I'll start with a quote by Rumi. The illuminated life can happen now, in the moments left. Die to your ego and become a true human being. Let's marinate on that for a few seconds. All right, let's get into it. The topic today is the ego. Kill or be killed? Let's break it down. What exactly is the ego? Do we truly know what it means to be egotistical? Egotism is always classified as being cocky and full of oneself, but it runs much deeper than that. The spiritual result foundation states, from a spiritual perspective, the meaning of ego is considering oneself to be distinct from others and the higher power due to identification with the physical body and impressions in various centers of the subtle body. In short, ego is leading our life as per the thinking that our existence is limited to our five senses, mind, and intellect, and identifying with them to various degrees. Spiritually, our true state of existence is identification with the soul, or God principle within us, and living our day-to-day life with this consciousness. As the one same God principle exists within us all, from a spiritual perspective, there is unity in all creation. However, depending on the level of our ego, we identify with the God principle within us to varying degrees. Thus, if our ego is high, we identify less with the God principle within us. And if our ego is low, we identify much more with the God principle within us. Now, according to lonerwolf.com, the ego is a biological and spiritual tool that was created by and defends the belief that we are all separate individual entities. As a result of believing that we are separate and isolated in this life, we suffer immensely. The ego perceives life through the lens of duality. Duality is the opposite of reality. It is the division of life into opposing forces such as love-hate, good-bad, right-wrong, and holy-sinful. When we divide life, we suffer. The result of this dualistic ego is judgment, hatred, condemnation, and alienation. While we accept some things, we reject other things. While we love some people, we hate other people. Instead of unconditionally accepting life in its wholeness, we segregate it into acceptable and unacceptable. That goes for experiences, people, beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. Thus, we suffer, slowly killing the God principle within and eventually killing the purpose of one's existence. The product of living through the ego can be observed in our world very clearly. The depression, anxiety, mental illness, murder, hatred, greed, poverty, war, and environmental destruction we experience is all a reflection of our internal suffering. Our internal suffering is solely the product of the ego that believes it is separate from others and life itself. So how can one save themselves from their ego? Ego death. Ego death is the experience of transcending the ego, self, and identity. This experience is the most mind-bending, awakening, awe-inspiring, peaceful, and unconditionally loving experience you could ever have. Ego death is essentially an experience of embodying your true nature completely. Basically, returning back to who you really are. Killing the ego is a constant part of life, for no one is exempt from having to get over themselves. So the question here is, have you killed or are you dying from your ego? Be sure to share your thoughts, comments, suggestions, experiences, and expertise, and definitely be sure to subscribe. shout out to all the listeners out there, and I'll check you guys out on the next episode. Until then, Hotep.